Hello music fans, welcome back to the Death by Unicorn channel, and this is my segment called What's New 2022, where I talk about albums that were recently released, and I'm talking about albums that were released on this past Friday, May 6th, 2022. I listened to 9 new albums that came out on May 6th, so there's a lot here. 3 of them really solid and contenders for my top 40 end of the year list potentially. We'll see how strong the rest of the year is. And then 4 of them are good, but probably not going to make the cut for my top 40. And then the other 2 are kind of more, they're okay, but they're just more on the poppy side of things. So yeah, I'm going to talk about mostly metal, rock, and progressive albums that were released on Friday, May 6th. And I'll go in my order of preference here. So my favorite, as of right now, was Ibaraki. The band's called Ibaraki, and the album's called Rashomon. And this is, it features Matt Heafy from Trivium. It's kind of his like black metal side project. And it's got Ihsahn, who is one of my favorite people in kind of the black metal scene, because he's got a very progressive edge to his black metal. It's also got guest vocals from Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance on one track, where he does the black metal shrieks, which is very surprising. In terms of the sound of this, it's very progressive. It maybe even leans more towards progressive metal than black metal, but it's also very melodic, but also dark and atmospheric and black metal, kind of death metal sometimes. It has almost every genre, maybe even a little metalcore, some of the chugginess in there. So yeah, progressive, melodic, black metal, death metal, metalcore, all that kind of thrown in here. And honestly, yeah, this is better than a lot of the recent Trivium releases, in my opinion. It's really cool. It feels like Matt Heafy's writing stuff without any constraints, and it's very adventurous. And I'd love to hear Trivium stuff kind of sound more like this. I like Trivium, but I think this takes it up a notch. So really enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised by how good it is. The second one I'll talk about is from a band called Pure Reason Revolution, and the album's called Above Cirrus. And this is their 5th album. They're a progressive rock band, and this is very good. It's even got some metal vibe to it as well. Hard to say whether I'd consider it a metal album, but there's definitely some metal influences. I feel it's even better than their last album, which was also pretty good, but didn't grab me as much as this one. And the third one I'm going to talk about is from a new band. It's a debut album from this Chinese progressive metal band. They're called O, but it's spelled O-U, and the album's called One. And they've signed with Inside Out Music. Very unique sound. I'm looking forward to seeing where this band goes next. They could become a future gem of the prog rock and metal scenes. It's a female-fronted band, very kind of quirky sound to it, kind of progressive rock metal, but very unique and different sounding, not like very many other bands. On to my 4th album that I'm going to talk about from this day. It's a instrumental post-metal album, kind of progressive. The band's called Siberia with a Y instead of an I, and the album's called Statement of Death, and this is their 4th album. Beautiful, kind of atmospheric, instrumental, progressive post-metal. If you're looking for something like that, it's among some of the best instrumental albums released so far this year. Obviously, I mean, Animals as Leaders, no one can top that one for me, and I liked the Steve Vai and Haunted Shores, but then this might be like my 4th favorite instrumental album of the year so far. Probably missing some. What else to say about that? that's about all I have to say on that one. And then another good one, just a well executed indie rock album, is by Arcade Fire, and the album's called We, and this is their 6th album. Not too much to say about it. It's nothing too surprising. It's just quality. It's not going to be good enough to top some of my favorites. Probably won't make my top 40 or anything of the year, but it's still solid, well executed indie rock, and I enjoyed it. And next I'll talk about an interesting one, Mikael Åkerfeldt from Opeth. He's the frontman of Opeth. He composes soundtrack for a Netflix series called Clark, and I listened to that, and it's pretty cool. You can hear him explore a lot of different genres, and I don't usually like soundtrack albums that much, and obviously it's not going to be as good as an Opeth album. It's not going to be like a cohesive like album experience because it's soundtracks, little bits and clips, like mostly like 2-minute tracks, kind of meant to be played behind a scene in a show. But for what it is, it's very cool. You can hear him explore like kind of funky sounds, kind of poppy sounds, some acoustic stuff, synthesizers, a lot of styles and moods that he wouldn't explore as much with Opeth. There's some stuff that's like happy sounding, and you don't really hear him make too much happy sounding stuff with Opeth. So that's pretty cool to hear different sides of Mikael Åkerfeldt's composing. Next one I'm going to talk about is by Silverstein, and the album's called Misery Made Me. This is their 11th album. They're kind of a post-hardcore band. They've got some of that metalcore, emo, screamo, and punk influences in there. It's pretty good. They're a little formulaic on this one, though, so it's not among their better works. I wouldn't say it's the worst thing they've ever done, but it's just not going to crack even like their top 7 for me. It's kind of, on first listen, it's lower down in my favorites of what they've done. Still has some really catchy melodies, some cool guitar riffs, great breakdowns and heavy parts. I found it just a little bit too poppy and formulaic to be amongst their best works. And those are most of the good ones I listened to. I listened to a couple that are like kind of big names as well, just to kind of hear what's going on in more like the pop metal and pop punk worlds of rock, just to kind of keep up with it. I checked out 3 Days Grace and their album Explosions. This is their 7th album. I guess you call it alternative metal. They got a bit of like grunge and hard rock influences in there. Basically, it's just pop metal. It's well produced, pretty catchy, a little cringeworthy though. Some of the lyrics, they try to be edgy. They like drop the F word in some things and try to sound like cool and edgy, and some of it tries to sound like emotional and angsty, but it sounds a bit like a fake packaged product for angsty teens to me, so probably won't be revisiting that one too much, but I wouldn't say it's terrible. Like, if you like catchy pop metal, you might enjoy it. And the other kind of poppier mainstream thing that I listened to was Simple Plan with their album Harder Than It Looks, and this is more on the pop punk side with a bit of that alternative, some emo influences. It's well executed pop punk, but again, more designed for angsty teens who hate their parents and want to rebel, but like singing pop punk music in their bedrooms. That's kind of what this one's like for me. There's one song on here that sounded a lot like Blink-182. That was kind of cool. Like, had some faster drums, I think, than their normal sound. I don't remember what song that was. I probably won't go back to check it out. So, but it wasn't all bad. And that's it for What's New 2022, talking about new releases that came out May 6th. Hope you found something in here that meets your taste and that you check out and enjoy. Until next time, peace out.